You gonna get popped next time I see your ass. Bring the whole cavalry. Yeah, boy, you guys are scared. Scared of the stingray, baby. Woo!
Today's story is about an online situation that escalated into a face-to-face encounter between a Somali immigrant and some Americans. What started as jokes and mockery on social media quickly turned into a moment of regret that nobody expected. But this isn't just about an awkward moment. It also reveals something bigger about self-respect, cultural misunderstanding, and the huge difference between talking online and standing face-to-face with someone. And by the end of this story, there is a lesson that applies to almost everyone who uses the internet. Let's watch these clips and then I'll come back with more comments.
We need to stop this drama between African Americans and Somalis in the States, because I can see both of the arguments. Some Somalis might argue that this drama is being initiated by African Americans, that African Americans interjected themselves into this madness, which is Somali American citizens being attacked by their president simply because of their ethnicity. And many Somalis argued that it is because of their skin color. And this ticked off a lot of African Americans because they said, oh, but didn't you say that you are not black? Well, if you're not black, then you can't ask for help because someone is attacking you because of your skin color and stuff like that. But one huge difference that we need to understand is that when Somalis say they are not black, they mean culturally, ethnically, they are not black. Or in other words, they don't identify with their skin color, but the rest of the world identifies them by their skin color. So a Somali can enter a store, and before he entered that store, he was a Somali, but the moment he entered that store clerk followed him around because he saw a teenage black boy. And that is what they mean when they are being targeted because they are black, because of their skin color. However, I also understand the other argument. Many African Americans have a negative view of the Somali community because they feel like they spew derogative terms against certain Africans, against other African people in the diaspora, calling them names like Jared, where some Somali.
More fraud has been discovered in Minnesota, and this time is with the SBA, Small Business Administration. So these are the PPP loans and those disaster loans that they were giving around the COVID era. So this is what the administrator said on X. Today, our agency took action to suspend 6,900 Minnesota borrowers and suspected fraudulent activity. In total, these borrowers were approved for $7,900 in PP and EIDL loans worth approximately $400 billion. She said the implicated individuals will be banned from all SBA loan programs, including disaster loans. Going forward, we will also refer every case where appropriate to federal law enforcement for prosecution and repayment. The suspension comes as the House Committee on Small Businesses started an investigation into fraud within the PPP and the EIDL, both programs that were established during the pandemic. When does this stop? When does this stop? You know, it's like it's infinite fraud out there in Minnesota. But yeah, this is what they're trying to do to stop it. They suspended those individuals that was a part of this, but they made off with $400 million. That's a lot of taxpayer money.
Somalis got caught bribing the jury.
One of the Somali fraudsters tried to bribe a juror with $120,000. What turned out, she'd been given $200,000 to bribe the juror, and she skimmed $80,000.
They skimmed the skim. They really are gangsters. But Trump's the captain now, and it's game over.
Nothing surprised me about peoples, or what they will do or what they won't do to get what they want. people will go to great lengths, just like they daddy the devil. Their job is to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's what they would do when they come to money. The Bible says money is the root of all evil. It ain't never lied. It's the destruction of society, even though you need it to live.
Recently, discussions online have highlighted tensions between some Somali immigrants and certain American communities. In some online conversations, a few Somali Americans posted comments mocking Americans and criticizing aspects of American culture. Some claimed that Americans work extremely hard, while government programs allow others to live more comfortably. Those comments quickly spread across social media, and as you might expect, they triggered strong reactions. Some people defended the comment as jokes or frustrations. Others felt they were disrespectful and unfair. And just like many internet debates, the conversation became heated very quickly. But what made this situation different was what happened next. Because eventually the people involved didn't just argue online, they met in real life.
Talking about Abdimajad Mohammed Nur. He's going to spend the next 10 years, though, in federal lockup after investigators say he took part in a $48 million COVID-19 pandemic scam. So this was part of a meal fraud scam, Trace. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars that were meant to feed hungry American kids on a lot of different things. They took stacks and stacks of cash like you're looking at here. They were blown on luxury cars. Let's buy an Audi. Let's buy a waterfront property out in Minnesota. And if you have time, let's go to a private villa out in the Maldives. That would be nice. Well, that's what they did, according to prosecutors. They showed these video clips, Trace, of the fraudsters popping bottles of champagne out on that luxury getaway. Police say the men were happy to be cashing in. They were texting each other, "You're going to be the richest 25-year-old, God willing." What is being called the largest fraud scam in history? It happened on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's watch. Today, the Democrat who ran for vice president launched a fraud prevention program. Critics say that's a little too late. The White House has slammed him for failing not just his state of Minnesota, but the country. He pushed back.
You can't have one without the other. Any amount of fraud is too much. That's why over the last several years, we've made many systematic changes to state government to both detect fraud and hold those accountable after it happened. Year after year, we brought new ideas to the legislature to stay ahead of the evolving tactics, and they are evolving.
Okay, so it doesn't stop there, though. Prosecutors.
So one reason this story gained so much attention is because of the communities involved. Places like Minnesota have become home to one of the biggest Somali communities in the United States. So over the past few decades, many Somali families moved there seeking safety and even new opportunities. So today, Somali Americans contribute to the community in many ways through businesses, education, public service, and culture. At the same time, whenever people from different cultural backgrounds live in the same place, misunderstandings can happen. So differences in experiences, values, and expectation can create disagreements. Most of the time, these differences are handled through conversations and cooperation, but occasionally, social media amplifies those tensions. And when that happens, situations like the one in this story emerge.
Not scared. So I'm citizen. I'm happy. I'm United States. I brought up America. I'm happy. So why you asking me? Some guys asking me, give me basmati, give me a green card. Why? Why you asking me?
Almost every Somali person living here is a citizen.
There's more than 100,000 Somalis in Minnesota. Roughly 84,000 reside in the metro. The journey from Somalia started decades ago.
My family immigrated here to Minneapolis, to Minnesota in 1993. As my father says, we came to a cold place, but we found people with warm hearts.
My parents wanted to provide us a good opportunity for us to chase after that American dream, right?
Many fleeing from civil war, crossing continents for a chance to build something. a chance for their children. For Sumaya Mahmoud, her parents' struggle paved the way for her to shine. Despite the rhetoric, she's grateful to be Somali and American.
One thing they taught me was resilience and not letting, other people's perception of you limit what you can do for yourself. I was born in Kenya, and then I grew up here, started kindergarten, K through 12, all the way up to college here in Minnesota.
For having me. There are much deeper issues. I've moved into the U.S. And in Maine about 11 years ago, and basically the first question that members of my community asked me which tribe, I belong to, and when I mentioned, so I fell into that category. So there's a deeper tribal rivalry going on in the community, much larger than anybody can actually imagine. And then interestingly enough, even though I spoke very good English, one of the things that I was told to do is go find a discounted housing Section 8, which I didn't know what actually it was, and sign up for all the other community benefits within the government or the state. And my response was, I'm actually here to work and build, basic and become part of the American fabric, which is pretty much what I've been working on for a while.
I'm incredibly fascinated by what you're having to say, so much so that I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to clarify. So when you felt that pressure and you were told to go join, public welfare programs once you moved here, where was that pressure coming from? Are you saying it's like cultural, like neighborhood, like neighbors telling you this is what you should do? How were you pushed in that direction?
Well, it was coming from the community that actually thought that was just a way of life, right? I instead of being asked about what kind of school I want to go to, what subjects I would love to study, and those interesting conversations weren't there at all. And my response was, can we do better things? Can we as a community actually integrate? And let's listen to that word, interestingly, because that had got me a huge backlash. This is many years ago that many people thought, no, let's not talk about integration. And I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for a pushback against this idea of sort of melting into America, becoming part of America. And let's just be very clear that I haven't arrived here as a young man. I mean, I came here at age 29, so I was well informed about my culture and my community growing up in the civil war in Somalia.
Incredibly, you're telling me you not only were discouraged from integrating into America, but you were also encouraged to stick to your tribal allegiances from back in Somalia, and those tribal allegiances and divisions remain here in America. That stat I showed, I'm curious, Abdi, about the percentage of the Somali population on some form of welfare, 80%, and stays that way over a 10-year period. Does that surprise you?
In some ways, it does not. Let me give you one example here. When I was in Somalia, a huge part of the population in Somalia, we're talking about 20 million people in Somalia, a huge number of that depended on $100 that family members in the U.S. sent back home. So there was not a lot of work to rebuild the country or get to work or, just basically building things. So this whole idea of receiving things the easy way has unfortunately actually evolved and became part of our way of life.
The key in this story is the realization that online actions can have real-world consequences. When the individuals involved actually interacted face-to-face, the situation forced everyone to confront the impact of their words. Moments like this can be uncomfortable, but they can also be important, because sometimes it takes a real-world interaction to remind people that behind every comment online is a real person. And once that becomes clear, perspectives can change quickly. That appears to be exactly what happened here. The key moment in this story is the realization that online actions can have real-world consequences. When the individuals involved actually interacted face-to-face, the situation forced everyone to confront the impacts of their words. Moments like this can be uncomfortable, but they can also be important, because sometimes it takes a real-world interaction to remind people that behind every comment online is a real person. And once that becomes clear, perspectives can change quickly. That appears to be exactly what happened here. At the end of the day, this story isn't really about one group or one community. It is about something much bigger. The internet has made communication faster and easier than ever before, but it has also made it easier for misunderstandings and disrespect to spread. Stories like these remind us the way we speak to each other matters both online and offline. Respect, empathy, and open conversations are essential when people from different backgrounds share the same communities. Without those things, small disagreements can turn into bigger conflicts. But with them, communities can grow stronger, more understanding over time. Do you think social media makes conflict between people worse? Or do you think it simply exposes issues that already exist? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and kindly remember to keep it respectful. And in case you're new here, kindly join our family by hitting the subscribe button, like this video, and tell me what you think on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.